Is Battlefield's current live service model working? A question that's undoubtedly hard to answer, but we can certainly examine how it's been going and contrast it with 2042's overall success. Despite Battlefield 2042's failings, the overall reception to the design of the live service deployment has been positive if you take away the complaints about having less map content. DICE seems to be appeasing a lot of people with technically less content, so it's worth looking at what works about the new system and how it could be integrated better for a future game that's not, shall we say, skimping on the map and weapon content. Now, the recent Battle of Nordvik event is over. It's Battlefield 2042's second seasonal event as part of the evolution of their live service. It brought free cosmetics and new game modes that tied into the normal weekly Battle Pass progression, and overall it was well received, with a focus on the much improved cosmetic unlocks compared to the last season's Liquidators event. Plus, the narrative elements came through much better than the last event, giving 2042's world a much better sense of presence, something that the game has been sorely lacking since launch. It also shows DICE learning a lot from their first season's Liquidators event, which I really didn't put much time into simply due to the limited unlocks available. The feedback from that event was clear and it's been remedied one season later, so it shows a clear feedback loop is in place and that DICE has the flexibility to actually modify their plans. The old DICE BV, before Vince that is, would usually be locked in with ideas and content plans and couldn't or wouldn't adapt to feedback quickly, so fans would see the same mistakes repeated with later content, and seeing this event having remedied most of the issues with the first is an encouraging step. Perhaps these are the results of creating a more lean and flexible development team, something that DICE's general manager Rebecca Kutes spoke about after taking over back in November. I certainly hope so. The overall Battle Pass experience has also been a massive step forward for the game compared to past titles. DICE has learned how to design missions for the game. Instead of these weird, obscure Battlefield 5 missions that said stuff like, get 7 headshot kills while prone on a flag in 1 life, these missions are far more open and forgiving to different playstyles and skill levels. Good players can breeze through the weekly missions in a matter of hours, and novice players can get through them with a little more dedication, but none of them are really inaccessible, and especially none of them are overly annoying. The main issue with the Battle Pass content is that it just doesn't offer much for the dedicated players, and in a way seems to dictate my playtime a little more by saying, hey, you completed all the reward stuff, now you can't unlock anything new, so it's more or less time to stop playing. Now, obviously playing Battlefield isn't just about getting the unlocks for me, but I do find that my sessions are more frequently tied into completing assignments now, and with the capped progress of them, it tends to cap my playtime to be maybe artificially shorter than I would normally put into the game. In my opinion, they should have added benefits for dedicated players willing to put in more time. Currently, if you speed through the entire Battle Pass, well, the weekly assignments won't offer you any additional stuff aside from just general XP. They could certainly be upgraded to provide bonuses for finishing all the assignments like extra shop currency, big XP boosts, and or even small cosmetic items like charms or basic weapon skins. Beyond that, players who want to put in like 1,000 hours or more to the game should have some really cool lifetime unlock challenges. There's been very little veteran achievements in this franchise, and that's not just a 2042 problem, but one that's always been a part of Battlefield. So if they really want to push their live service to a realm where it's competitive with other games and appeals to their veteran fan base more, long-term achievement systems should be integrated. Now, looking at the Steam chart player retention data, we can see that Season 3's update brought back a huge amount of players with the new Spearhead map, futuristic tanks, and weapons. This was the biggest player spike the game saw since its launch, and it shows that when DICE delivers something fun and imaginative, the player base will actually show up for it. This is despite the content only offering a single new map. Without question, the biggest and most obvious point of criticism with the live service content is the quantity of maps. I think DICE is probably seeing the biggest possible player retention and spikes just given how much content they're actually bringing into the game. And it's hard to imagine them improving growth beyond this without adding more map content as opposed to just one new map every 3 months. The 3 seasonal maps have all been pretty good in my opinion, and they offer different styles of gameplay, but they get old fast and they limit what can be done with each season's content. For example, the 3-week-long Battle of Nordvik event focused exclusively on the Spearhead map. Each week offered a different mode on the exact same map, which players had already been playing for like a month prior to this event. Having a single new map could very well be the linchpin of making these seasons feel big versus bite-sized. There's an older DICE dev interview with Lars talking about how some of Battlefield 1's DLC map content was churned out in just a few months.
I think we did the maps for Battlefield 1. How's your French? Nouvelle Nights and Prédatrice.
Prédatrice. At least in 2 years.
Those, I think, the team did in 2-3 months. Extremely talented team, but they had all kind of
They had the assets.
They had the assets, and basically take whatever shortcuts you want, and I think they delivered super cool maps.
So obviously the player base knows what's possible, so getting a single map to last us such a long stretch of time is tough and, in my opinion, unsustainable if DICE is actually looking to grow the player base. Now, all that said, the foundation of the seasonal pass, cosmetics, and weekly mission stuff is strong. Progressing and building upon this current system seems like a recipe for success with future titles, but is there any way to actually see if this system is beneficial? Well, Battlefield 2042 certainly isn't achieving the player numbers of past titles, but I think it's safe to say that the main reason behind it has been directly tied to the massive problematic launch of the game and the year-long fix-it process that DICE is still working through. But we have seen the player base start to grow as the game gets better. We don't have any of DICE's internal data to reflect on how effective each aspect of the seasonal pass is, but I would imagine that it's been overall positive. And speaking personally as a lifelong fan, I do really enjoy the seasonal design. I've been extremely annoyed by DICE's past attempts and mission designs, and I felt none of that frustration here. As I said before, I do still think it lacks more things for dedicated players to do, and I find myself running through the available stuff pretty quickly. Now, we're almost halfway through the month, and we have another massive patch scheduled to drop at the end of this month. The class rework, which is coming with that patch, will be a massive change, but not exactly new content for players less interested in that feature change. There is, however, a map rework that looks quite exciting, and then fans will have a brand new map and potentially 2 more reworks to look forward to in Season 4. I am looking forward to the new content quite a bit, but there's no denying that the rate of content is probably the biggest impasse for player growth. It'll be interesting to see if DICE is able to ramp this up at all for, say, the mysterious Season 5 of content, or if it'll continue at the same, somewhat relaxed pace. What do you guys think? Is the new seasonal design something that works for you? Would you want to see it continued in future games? And if so, is there anything that you'd want to change? Also, if you want to watch a video that dissects the nature of Battlefield 2042's recent 128 player mode, how it succeeds and how it fails, check out this video here. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. This is LevelCap, signing off.